you get the strong impression that maybe you are just a part of some kind of experiment to them. The Apocalypse Players present Machine Tractor Station Kharkov-37.
Why can I never remember the name of this thing?
A Call of Cthulhu scenario written by Bret Kramer, with Joseph Chance as Senior Sergeant Dr. Vissarion Beo Ivanovich Yuskov Lyubimova of the Red Army.
And then I get the sausage out.
Danann McAleer as Senior Lieutenant Grigor Fyodorov of the Red Army.
I don't know much about meteors myself, but they're hot. They come down at speed.
Dominic Allen as Administrator Major Yuri Kopelev of the Telegraph Service of the Soviet Union.
I must take umbrage with something you have said.
Oh, okay.
I can understand that you might say that you are not equipped to deal with creatures of legend. But to say that members of the Red Army are not equipped to deal with religious cults is to say that you are not fit to be in the Red Army.
And Dan Wheeler as everybody else. Triepanov, Kopelov, Triepanev, oh God, I can't get these names right now. Triepanev, wait.
Kopelev, Triepanov and Fyodorov spent some time examining the track, but eventually decided against pursuing it. The major and the lieutenant shared some of their theories about the sort of creature which may have created these lairs, or indeed the type of people whose primitive beliefs might lead them to venerate the idea of such a creature. Meanwhile, Dr. Lyubimova went to look at the truck and the apparent suicide within before heading back to his tent. His memory had been jogged as to a meteor shower the previous year which lit up the sky, but was not mentioned in news bulletins. Looking over the lab notes one more time, he finally realized the textbooks indicated that there may be a substance hitherto unknown by science. It appears at this point that the good doctor developed a deep paranoia as to whether he could trust his comrades.
And then just at that moment, the truck arrives back. You hear them pull up, Dr. Lyubimova.
The noise of the horn.
Truck pulls up. Trepanov turns off the engine, jumps out, and here we all are.
I think I'm by the fire with a number of other men. All of us sort of kind of. What kind of time is it?
That's a good question. I'm glad you asked. I think it's about mid-afternoon. I think they were hoping they'd only go for an hour or so in the morning, but actually it took them quite a while to sort of go through every single dwelling, and poor old Dugov had to dig up a body. And then they stopped by the side of the road. So I think early afternoon, mid-afternoon.
Here, yes. Come now. I named the chef once, and now I can't remember what I named him. Kharkov. Why are you the chef today? It was the other guy the other day. He's much better. Anyway, let's have some stew for the major and his men, and also, of course, for our good lieutenant. I'm going to have a meeting with the officers. Bloshenstev, with your permission, if you keep an eye on this rabble, make sure they are occupied. Everybody's weapons must be clean and ready for firing.
Beo.
Sergeant.
Blochenstev says, you speak to the other officers, you would try to press our case.
Very much so.
Yes, to leave at the soonest opportunity.
I hear you, my friend.
Thank you.
I reach up to his massive shoulder, and I squeeze it with a gentle massage, obviously, nothing too intimate. And I say, of course, my brother Sergeant. You are right, and yes, well remembered about those meteors. Anyway, I will go speak to the lieutenant. And I sort of trot over. I've got a little bit more, I wouldn't say I'm my most dynamic, because obviously I do feel still a little bit of a lag in the energy. But I trot over to meet the major and the lieutenant. Can I just double check? Did did they come back? Did Nikolsky and Tamosev, did they come back from their watch? I was sort of trying to get them back early and send the next lot out for the hour shift.
Well, in that case, if that's what you're after, then I can say yes, they are back.
Nice, okay. I'm going to clock them as I go.
And you sent out Isakov and Nosilevsky.
Nosilevsky. That rascal.
Da.
Right, so when we see Bayo hurrying over, say, Bayo, with us, gentlemen, I think we should discuss our next moves.
Da.
Yes.
Done?
Da.
Da.
Good. Where is good?
I get a bottle of vodka out, and 4 cups.
So I guess we just pick a spot somewhere which is relatively comfortable and just. So Bayo, well, should we take it? Maybe let's not take it for Red. Bayo, we investigated the town. I'm assuming everything was fine here in our absence.
Fine enough, yes.
Good. We did find some somewhat disturbing things. Clear evidence of a mass grave, executions, and a similar situation to the grain silo here. Water tank with the same hole bored into it, filled with bodies and stenching water. Yes, we are en route back from that encounter. I think we should have a serious discussion about what we are trying to achieve here and when is the best time to report back and perhaps take new orders.
Yes.
Any thoughts?
Yes, Lieutenant. I salute, which is unusual.
Major, Captain,
I think
you any thoughts?
we cannot. I will not be able to rest easy until I know for sure what was happening in this tractor station.
At that point, I pass you a cup of. It's a small cup of vodka. One of those cups that stack up, like a travel bag from Marks and Spencer's.
Like a Russian doll.
Like a Russian much better. Like a
Drinking out the legs of a Russian doll.
yeah.
Like the second one in.
I pass around, and you're the last man I pass it to. I've already passed one to Trepanov unless he refuses. And of course to Dukov as well.
Nastrovia.
And then I take from the bottle. So this is the good stuff. You instantly notice that I haven't given you the stuff that I gave you last time, or the time before that, and then I get the sausage out and I start, as is traditional from pre-revolution. Always, you always have something to eat with your vodka. So it's old. It's an old trad. And
a nice sausage.
And I hand out a bit of sausage with it, and then I immediately start refilling the cups.
Thank you, Bayo.
And then I say,
Much appreciated.
well, I have a small report of my own, Captain, Major, Lieutenant, if it is acceptable to you. I went back to the electrophonic
Light orchestra.
automotive electrophonic automotive light orchestra, and
Yes.
I reinvestigated. Why can I never remember the name of this thing?
It's a localized tranquilizer.
Yes, exactly. I took a localized tranquilizer, and it's a lot better now. No, I reinvestigated the body there, and it occurred to me that the lights have not been removed from the vehicle itself. Whereas, as we all know, gentlemen, the lights have been removed from almost everything else that is still working and applied to the purpose of shining on the silo.
So you think perhaps that the person who attached the lights was the man in the car and he wanted the option to escape?
Good thinking, Lieutenant. That had actually not been my first thought. My first thought had been, aside from wanting the Major's opinion and the Captain's opinion, of course, I felt that perhaps he had been keeping a last resort attached to the vehicle that he had, because perhaps it was useful to have lights on the thing that he was sitting in. I also...
What if... Sorry to interrupt.
Not at all.
This thought has just occurred to me, so I want to get it off my chest immediately to see if it will factor into any of your thinking. What if the people who were working at this tractor station, who were perhaps scientists we know, who were working for the OGPU, who perhaps, let us, if you will, humor me, what if they were developing something? They were trying to study something, let's say for argument's sake, a large animal that we do not know what it is. They know it is living out here in the hills. They know that they can draw it to them. Let us say that they wanted to get out of here for whatever reason, but they wanted the animal to come. What if the animal is not repelled by light, but attracted to it? And this was the silo was a food source, and they needed someone to stay behind. So he was not so much as a last resort having the vehicle to have headlamps. He was the man who had to drive the truck with the headlamps to attract the animal, to bring it here to where the lights were. He had to stay, and he knew that he was going to have to be here when it got here. Everyone else was gone or already dead. And so he did that as a last-ditch attempt to achieve something, the manner of which I do not yet comprehend. But what if it was not he was making a last attempt to save himself, but he was making a last attempt to draw something out or something to this place as an attempt perhaps for some greater good?
I think, as you said earlier, Major, clearly you have seen things I have not, and I do not take you for a fool or a liar, so I will trust you on that. My only issue with this theory is, well, not my only issue perhaps, but one of the main ones, the car is hooked up by a cable, yes, so if it was a last-ditch attempt, he would still have had to connect things up, perhaps climb up the side, and also...
But what I mean is, what if he was doing that, if he had to do that, which he obviously did, perhaps he was the one who drew the short straw. He has to stay. Perhaps. He has to do all this stuff. And so he thinks, I will take insurance. I will, if necessary, shoot myself.
Well, in which case, a very brave man, and let us hope that he did honor the party in that way. But in terms of the silo itself, it has at least one body in it. I suspect many more, having looked in the water tank in this outlying town we were just visiting. So are you saying that this was built deliberately as a trap for the creature, or that the creature had already set up this food store? And
that is what we do not know.
No.
That is what we must find out.
And in my opinion, and I hate to again, you know more than me, clearly, but the holes burnt into the side of these metal objects, no animal can do that. Only a human can do that.
But what if so? All right. So if a human has done it to enable this creature to feed.
But why?
This is what I'm saying. Is this silo not like the bird feeder that you put to attract
a bird?
The blue jay.
I just want to, if you don't mind, Joseph, just so I have something of an audio record.
Oh, yeah.
To you, Major Kopelev, he appears to be acting completely rationally. But whether he's acting honestly is perhaps another question.
Yeah. Which would certainly fit with my MO so far, that I my insight that I've had, which fits perfectly well with my own sanity loss. Good, yes. Yeah. So when you say blue jay with that sort of echoing, slightly manic quality,
I don't know if they're indigenous to
I loved it. Yeah, they fly over, don't they, from America?
I'm sure, yeah.
I'm pretty sure they do.
Dan's the bird expert.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they have.
I don't think they make it to this part of Russia.
Not this far.
No.
But
Kharkov, Chaffin, sure, whatever's local.
Well, I say there must be some birds, and I sort of look to the sky.
oh
listen.
no! Yeah, he's done the thing that I didn't want to have to ever do, and I can't help but track him because I've been focusing on him so carefully with my surreptitious psychology check that I've been doing. I too look up at the sky,
And as he looks to the sky, you are certain that he knows something he's not telling you.
Well, Major, whether the blue jay will ever grace these lands again, I cannot say, but one thing I do need to bring to your attentions is I have restudied the notes that I found yesterday, the chemistry notes. Initially, I was baffled by them and thought that, well, I will not lie to you, gentlemen, I thought they were crazy. They seem to be suggesting a rewriting of all the rule books, and as you know, I will not stand for such things. I'm a man of medicine, and he puffs his chest out, knowing full well that he sounds like a hypocrite. But the truth is, I have restudied them in the light of analyzing the behavior of the Okpu agent. And I am convinced that there was a discovery here. Perhaps this would fit with the idea that you are suggesting regarding... I don't know. He lowers his voice and leans forward to you and says, I don't know, maybe this animal that you describe. Initially, I think that sounds a little crazy too, but now I'm beginning to wonder if the connection is, what if they discover a new element? And you will never believe this. Lieutenant, you will never believe this. But the key to all of this was Bloshinstev. He reminded me. Back in 31, you remember, the meteor shower. We all saw it, yes? Beautiful. And stars falling to the earth. The men were gathered, gazing into the heavens, looking at the beauty of the celestial wonder of the galaxy that surrounds us. But the truth is, I think maybe a little bit more came down. This would explain why they had this curiosity with the astronomical inquiry, why they were looking into testing the stereoscopic nature of certain finds, perhaps?
And would that not fit the description of the holes on these tanks? The melted edges. I don't know much about meteors myself, but they are hot. They come down at speed. Could they have knocked these holes into these? It seems bizarre that they would only hit these two things, which would then be filled with bodies. But then perhaps they hit all around this area, and it's covered with snow, or these are the only ones we've seen. I don't know. Perhaps that's a crazy idea, but since we're talking about giant creatures and crazy people, I thought I'd throw it into the mix.
Anyone got any astronomy skill?
No.
I just said I didn't, but let's check. No.
Or what about geology?
No.
Okay. Or
Locksmith? Martial arts?
Natural world.
Russian language?
Finnish?
natural world. You can give me a natural. I'll take a natural world or natural history, or just an intelligence, but it will have to be a hard success.
Okay.
I'll give it a go.
On intelligence, it would have to be a hard success, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give it a go anyway.
If you've got a natural history...
Natural history not a hard success, or is it just...
Yeah, standard. You can give me standard for natural history.
Hey, I tell you what, Dan, I do have a request for a role I'd like to make. If
Okay.
Just thinking back to something I said earlier, but I'll do that in a second.
Ooh. Oh. So I got a 22 on my intelligence, which is 60.
Yes.
Okay. It's funny that it's you, because as these words come out of your mouth about, the holes in the silo and the tank being burnt with meteors, you suddenly realize what you're saying is nonsense, because if a meteor came down, it would, even at the smallest meteor, would create quite an enormous impact crater.
Yeah.
So if something had landed, there would be a huge crater.
I'd like to point out that I, as Danann, did realise that, but
I
for
absolutely
my own sake,
believe
I'd
you.
like to-
Who knows how these rules work, though, when it comes to
exactly.
extraterrestrial bodies?
Yeah, exactly.
Thinking about the what I said earlier about when I sort of made the supposition that maybe the people in the local villages held some kind of superstition that maybe encouraged them to worship some kind of mutant bear or something. Would it be possible to do an occult roll? I didn't realise I had such good occult. Would it be possible to do an occult roll to see if I can glean, I remember anything or know of any superstition like that might be relevant, or that sounds like it fits the model?
This is a good question. Let me get my answer ready before I get you to roll, if that's all right.
Oh, no, do, please. It's a sort of a bit of a cheeky, it's a sort of reverse engineered detective work.
That's what you're here for.
I suppose so. What am I good at, and how can I phrase that like a question?
Okay, so give me an occult roll you've asked about occult, so give me an occult roll to see whether you have any knowledge about the beliefs of this part of the country.
Yeah, perfect. Right. The symbol of Hasta is obviously a 0. Can you see that?
0-1.
Yeah.
Another 0-1.
Okay.
I think this is the first time we've ever had 2 0-1s, definitely.
I think it might be the only time I've ever rolled a 0-1. I don't remember rolling it before.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I might have to get you some more information.
We're only going to die.
Oh!
We're only going to die horribly, not really, really horribly.
No, we'll still die really, really horribly. We'll just know it's about to happen and how. We'll know what's doing it.
Which does make it worse, in a way.
It makes it a lot worse.
So your knowledge, you've been saying this for a while now. You've been saying, perhaps they have some superstition, some superstitious belief, and this is based on your knowledge that there are, there are these occult groups that believe things that are dangerous.
Whack jobs.
And then you also remember that there's some people some people in your party were very superstitious about the deformed rabbit, wanted it buried. But in terms of this area, all you are aware of, even with all your excellent knowledge of the occult and of the religions of this area, is that there are some villages in this area where people may be clung on to the old faith, as in Orthodox Russian Church, longer than the party would have permitted. You think perhaps a couple of the villages, and because you had such a good success, you look, you're clutching this map because it's still preying on your mind that that track wasn't marked on it. You look down and you see the name of Tsachenka, And you were like, yeah, I remember that name. They were trouble. They wouldn't drop their faith.
They were politically incorrect.
They were politically incorrect because they clung so tightly to their Orthodox religion. But no, in terms of strange occult practices or beliefs, you don't know of any in this area. You just know of, and it's just as bad, obviously. The Orthodox Church is just as incorrect, just as wrong, but it's not particularly weird.
Right. What was the name of that village again, sorry?
Sechenka.
Right.
I know that what I am describing is fantastical, but if you look at this, and I think I probably don't hand it over to the lieutenant. I hand it over to the major, and I say, if you look at this, I think it is irrefutable. With further analysis, something quite remarkable might have been found in one of these aerolites, these meteors. I'm not sure, and I close the book and then I put it back into my inside pocket, unless the major takes it.
I'll take it and have a look. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So the major does take it.
What does this all mean?
Which leads me to believe that perhaps we are not the right men for the job. We need a sophisticated scientific team, I say, looking at Lieutenant Fyodorov. I certainly know it is the opinion of the men that it would be better if we left here as soon as possible. Our supplies will be limited. We cannot eat or drink from this location.
Can you give me a spot hidden, please? Fyodorov and Lyubimova.
I'm on fire tonight. Apart from my failed sanity check. Damn it. 08.
So you notice, Lyubimova, as you're saying this, you glance over to the men, because you just said, some of the men would say it'd be good to leave as soon as possible. You notice Sergeants Blokhinstev and Kovalevsky having what looks like a little bit of a surreptitious conversation about something.
So, Lieutenant, I don't know what you think, but I certainly feel a little out of my depth. I think the men would certainly think that it's time to move, because we are not necessarily the right team for the job. Reinforcements might be needed.
No, we need to. Well, I'll speak bluntly. We need to have a very serious conversation about what we are hoping to achieve here and how we get that done. Major Captain, I don't presume to know your real mission here, but let's be honest with each other. It's not fixing the telegraph wires. My men are not equipped to deal with a creature of legend, nor with religious cults, or anything that stashes hundreds of bodies in silos. And if this is the site of some new element, well, I have no scientists with me.
I must take umbrage with something you have said.
Oh, okay.
I can understand that you might say that you are not equipped to deal with creatures of legend. But to say that members of the Red Army are not equipped to deal with religious cults is to say that you are not fit to be in the Red Army.
Well, I see your point. Perhaps it was me not explaining myself properly. I mean that...
I understand your meaning, but I had to say it.
I appreciate
We
that.
cannot afford to become politically incorrect ourselves.
I appreciate that. That would be an issue. My meaning was perhaps...
Akraminov would not be happy.
We are not equipped to deal with religious cults who have an actual deity running around the hills to feed. This is the difference.
Political orthodoxy will be furious.
He will, yes. But my point is, I'm sure you see my predicament here. How much my men can help in this situation, especially with all the illness running through the camp. We cannot drink the water, we cannot hunt the food.
No.
We are not equipped to make any further discoveries, so...
Well, let me tell you what... Here are the criteria by which I feel like I can leave this place. There is only one thing I want to do. I want to find the people who know what happened. And I do not believe they are all dead. I do not believe that they have all fled. I believe that in one of these villages, there is someone, somewhere, who can tell us something. And I would have that person put into the custody of the Telegraph Union.
I see. Thank you for being so forward.
Because they have been sabotaging the telegraph poles.
Quite so, and I agree.
And that way I will have fulfilled my brief.
And we will have fulfilled our duty if we assist you in this manner.
Quite so.
And we maybe, if we can find some information from this person, if they do exist, which I do believe they do, then maybe we can avert something terrible happening like has already happened here. Again.
Well, in which case I'm in agreement. There are 2 more Kokolses in the immediate area, is that right? Something like that? Do we have that information?
Da, there is Tsetchenka, and there is, I have it.
Bielenskog. That's it.
On which point, Lieutenant?
Da.
We stopped in a kolkhoz on the way here,
Da.
where we saw the rabbit.
Da.
I would be lying if I said I did not detect that you are all very uncomfortable about that place. Something had happened there which I believe you had a hand in.
Well...
Is it connected to what we are seeing here?
No, not that I can detect. You have my word on that. You know, the orders we receive as men of the Red Army, of course, we follow them out to the letter. And we agree that it is for the good of the party and good of the people. It does not mean that sometimes it is not a difficult thing for men to do.
I understand.
That is the only reason there was disquiet in that place, as far as I know.
What is it they were guilty of?
Hoarding grain, the stashing of food, working against the people.
When was this?
I look very keenly at the Major as he's thinking this. This has very much drawn my attention.
This was last fall, I suppose, to use an American term.
Oh, by the name of the party, of course. Of course it was.
Of course.
No, but... Major, if you permit me?
Yes, please. Any light you can shed on this matter is invaluable.
So the meteorites fall in 31. Around that time, a massive increase in performance in the dairy. The kulaks, they managed to cream off the top. You know how this works. This is black market, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if one place does well, people will steal from that place. I hate to say it, it is human nature. The weak members of the party, the weak members of this beautiful country, Russia.
Degenerate people.
The degenerate people who cannot trust and cannot resist their instincts, their base lower instincts. They take, they steal, and so of course there is more grain, but also there is more legitimate passing of greater wealth from one person to another, if one place does so well. Is it merely a coincidence that it is exactly the same time? And is it merely a coincidence that only 18 months later, after a fierce putting down of a terrible crime against the Soviet Republic by the good lieutenant here and his men, that this desiccation, this devastation around us, and I gesture around somewhat dramatically, is to be seen?
Yes.
I begin to think there must be a connection between this.
There must be a connection.
Lieutenant Fyodorov, as you listen to Lyubimova speak, you observe a look in his eyes. I mean, he's always had a slightly eccentric, somewhat fanatical streak, whether performed or genuine. But there's something about a look in his eyes that you find slightly disturbing, and you begin to wonder whether all this chat about the meteor is, whether he's maybe had too much to drink, or whether something has really affected him. You don't know anymore whether you can trust his judgment.
Yes.
What if they were not storing grain to cream off the top? What if they were doing it for some other purpose? I know I keep going on about this, but I cannot simply forget what I have seen, what I have observed with these silos. They scream to me. They are exactly like a bird feeder full of seed, or a spider's clutch of food. They are. There is something they are there for.
Major, can I ask you a question, frankly? Lieutenant, with your permission. What is the greatest number of men you have controlled under your title as Major?
Me?
Yes. Commanded.
It is... I am not a Red Army, Major.
No, 25? You've had 25 men?
No.
Who you put into trucks and you tell them where to drive, when, and how, and why? The longer we stand here talking about this, the more scared they will get.
And as you say that, you notice Blockenstuff and Kovalevsky approaching. And Kovalevsky steps forward and says, Lieutenant Fyodorov, may I inquire, are we planning on making tracks tonight? It looks like we have maybe another hour at daylight. Are we setting off tonight back to the depot?
This is just what we are trying to work out now. Of course, we want to get away as soon as possible, but we want to make sure that we have everything in order here first for our reports.
Of course.
I'll get back to you in a matter of minutes.
Of course, just to give you a report of the state of the men. As you know, some of them are unwell with a stomach complaint, and a few of them are laid up in their tents and refusing to leave their tents. But those of us who are sound of body and mind are a little concerned about the repeated talk of contagion. And also, if I could speak plainly, sir, we came out here understanding that we were to fix the telegraph lines, and the men... I'm speaking on behalf...
Then fix the telegraph lines!
Is that an order, sir?
Yes!
The Major.
You'd like us to begin
Major, please.
tonight? Should
Go
we,
and
should we
fix
take
the You want to fix the telegraph lines? Fix the telegraph lines. You want to lie in your
Understood.
camp? Lie in the camp.
Understood. I'll order the men to take down the poles around the silo now, sir.
Good.
Salutes.
Do it.
Walking off.
Major.
You realise how difficult you've made life for me now.
All right.
I can make life a lot more difficult for everyone here. If you want to go, go. I have work to do, but I will put it in my report. I was told the Red Army I could rely on for their assistance, and I will report back that I could not.
You can rely on a dog for as long as you don't kick it to death, Major. If you treat a dog well,
If a dog bites you, you take it into the woods and you shoot it.
I see.
Major.
How can you look around and not see that we are in the deepest shit? And you want to go back and sit on your arses and just pretend like nothing is happening? Eventually it will get you. Eventually something will come and it will get you.
Thank you, Major. You've made your position quite clear, as you've made mine. If I want to leave, I can, so I will be taking my men and leaving now.
Good.
Lieutenant.
Das vidania.
Lieutenant.
I walk away.
Bayo's got a wealth of experience behind him, and he knows him. He's a good man. And yet, Fyodorov, I think, would leave him to die in a heartbeat if it meant saving the rest of the men. Fyodorov starts to think. His mind wanders back to the blizzard of the post-war period. And I was once again in the uniform of the Whites, return to me now, cleaned of sweat, but not the other, more damning stains. And I am made to face my men. My malnourished, hungry men. My desperate men. Wearing their old, white uniforms, just like me. The young commander presses a large stone into my hand. "It is time, traitor," I hear whispered in my ear. "Prove yourself." I snatch a glance back at the young commander, but his face seems to morph into Kopelev's. That same quiet zealotry. I grip the stone tight in my hand as the swaying figure staggers forward to meet me in the center of the square. Andrei's face appears before me in the swirl, gaunt, white, desperate. His eyes widen madly. I grip the stone tight, raise my arm high above his head. I try to remember that young commander's face. All that appears is Kopelev's,